Today's story is called The Wayne Dad Chronicles, Case of the Heinous Stench.
It began on an otherwise ordinary Sunday afternoon. The Turner family was lounging in the living room, Ellie scrolling on her phone, Jake playing a video game, and Dad attempting to fix a lamp that had been perfectly fine until he decided it wasn't. Suddenly, Ellie wrinkled her nose. "What is that?" Jake paused his game. "What's what?" "That smell," Ellie said, waving her hand in front of her face. "It smells like something died in here." Jake sniffed the air and made a face. "Oh yeah, that is bad." Dad looked up from his lamp project, his eyes narrowing like a hawk spotting prey. "A smell, you say?" "Not just a smell," Ellie said, gagging. "A horrible smell." Dad stood, adjusting an invisible tie. "Well then, this sounds like a case for Detective Dad." Ellie groaned. "Nope, not today." "It's just a stink, Dad," Jake said. "Probably the garbage or something." Dad held up a hand. "Garbage doesn't smell like this, my boy. This isn't your everyday funk. No. This is a mystery." Phase 1. The investigation begins. Within minutes, Dad had transformed the living room into his makeshift crime lab. He donned his signature trench coat, a bathrobe, grabbed his magnifying glass, and set up a smell map on the whiteboard he kept in the hall closet. "All right, team," Dad announced, pacing in front of the board. "Step 1. Identify the nature of the smell. Is it rotten, sour, chemically?" "Disgusting," Ellie said. "Definitely gross," Jake added. Dad jotted down "gross" on the board. "Noted." Step 2. Locate the origin. Ellie, Jake, I need you to fan out and sniff around the house and report back. "No way," Ellie said. "That's your job, Detective Dad." Jake nodded. "Yeah, you're the weird one who likes this stuff." "Fair enough," Dad said, sniffing the air dramatically. "Rocky, let's move out." Rocky, the family's raccoon sidekick, chirped enthusiastically and scurried toward the kitchen. Phase 2. The first clues. Dad and Rocky started in the kitchen, where Dad opened every cupboard, sniffed inside the fridge, and even checked under the sink. "Anything?" Ellie called from the couch. "Not yet," Dad replied, sticking his head into the trash can, "though I'm detecting faint notes of week-old spaghetti. But that's not our culprit." Rocky pawed at the floor, chittering urgently. "What's that, boy?" Dad asked, crouching down. "You found something?" Rocky nudged a forgotten onion under the counter. "Aha!" Dad exclaimed, holding it up like a trophy. "An onion, slightly rotted, but not foul enough to be our prime suspect." Jake poked his head into the kitchen. "Are you seriously interrogating produce?" "Detective work is an art, Jake," Dad said, dropping the onion into the trash. "And the art requires patience." Phase 3. The smell grows stronger. The farther Dad ventured from the kitchen, the stronger the smell became. He sniffed his way through the dining room, checked behind the curtains, and even crawled under the couch. "It's like it's everywhere," Ellie said, pinching her nose as she followed him. "Or nowhere," Jake added. "Maybe it's a ghost smell, like a phantom stink." Dad shook his head. "Ghost smells are a myth, son. This is something real, something tangible, and we are closing in on it." Rocky darted toward the stairs, chirping loudly. "Upstairs!" Dad shouted, scrambling after him. "The stink is on the move." Phase 4. The suspects. Dad burst into Ellie's room, sniffing the air like a bloodhound. "It's stronger in here." Ellie groaned. "It's not coming from my room." "Let's just check," Dad said, opening her closet. He sifted through a pile of unwashed gym clothes, sniffing each item dramatically. "Dad!" Ellie shrieked, snatching her hoodie back. "Get out!" Dad said, ignoring her protests. "Sweaty, but not offensive enough to be our perp." "Maybe it's Jake's room," Ellie said, glaring. Dad spun on his heel. "To Jake's room." Jake tried to block the door. "No way, you are not sniffing my stuff." But Dad pushed right past him, sniffing his laundry pile, his sneakers, and even his backpack. "Your gym bag is questionable," Dad admitted, "but not the source of the smell. No, the mystery lies deeper." Phase 5. The big discovery. After exhausting every logical possibility, Dad stood in the hallway, defeated. The smell is everywhere, and yet it's nowhere. Ellie crossed her arms. "Are you ready to give up?" "Never," Dad declared. "Rocky, what do you think?" Rocky sniffed the air and darted into the bathroom, clawing at the vent. Dad's eyes lit up. Of course, the HVAC system. The smell isn't coming from one place. It's being circulated around the house. Jake frowned. That actually makes sense. Dad removed the vent cover and shone his flashlight inside. He gasped. What is it? Ellie asked, peering over his shoulder. Brace yourselves, Dad said, reaching into the duct. He pulled out a small, shriveled lump wrapped in tinfoil. No way, Ellie whispered. Jake squinted. Is that a potato? Dad pulled the shriveled potato from the air duct with a triumphant grin. This is it, the source of the stink. Ellie wrinkled her nose. That doesn't seem strong enough. Jake sniffed the air. Yeah, the smell is still here. Dad paused, his confidence wavering. That's impossible. He sniffed the air again, his face twisting into a grimace. You're right. The stink remains. The potato was a decoy. Ellie groaned. So we're back to square one? Rocky, perched on Dad's shoulder, let out an innocent chirp. Dad froze, his eyes narrowing. Wait a second. What? Jake asked. Dad turned his head slowly, staring at Rocky. Every time the smell got stronger, who was there? Ellie blinked. Rocky! And every time it moved from one room to the next, who led the way? Dad continued. Rocky, Jake said, his jaw dropping. Dad's eyes widened. The smell isn't coming from the house, it's coming from Rocky. Rocky tilted his head, chirping defensively. The realization. Ellie stepped back, fanning the air. Oh my gosh, it is him! Jake sniffed and gagged. What did he get into? Dad crouched down, staring at Rocky with a mix of admiration and horror. Rocky, my trusted partner, how could you betray me like this? Rocky chittered indignantly, scampering off Dad's shoulder and into the living room. Quick, Dad shouted, follow that smell. They chased Rocky into the kitchen, where he climbed onto the counter and pointed proudly at the trash can. Ellie opened the lid and gasped. Oh no, he got into the fish tacos from last week. Jake winced. That explains a lot. Dad nodded solemnly. The mystery is solved. The smell isn't a conspiracy. It's a consequence. Rocky chirped innocently, as if to say, I regret nothing. The bath scene. 5 minutes later, the entire Turner family was in the bathroom, the tub filled with warm, soapy water. Rocky sat in the bubbles, looking both offended and pitiful, as Dad scrubbed his fur. This, Dad said, is what happens when you roll around in week-old fish tacos. Ellie smirked. Maybe we should give you a bath too, Dad. You've been carrying them around all day. Jake laughed. Yeah, you probably smell like tacos too. Dad sniffed his shirt and grimaced. Fine, after Rocky. Rocky splashed soapy water everywhere, chirping indignantly as Mom walked in, surveying the scene. What on earth is going on in here? She asked, raising an eyebrow. We solved the mystery, Ellie said, grinning. Rocky was the stink all along. Mom shook her head, suppressing a smile. Of course he was. Dad beamed, holding up a dripping, sudsy Rocky. But the case is closed. Detective Dad and his team saved the day again. Jake smirked. And now we save our noses. The family laughed as Rocky let out a small squeak. By the time the bath was over, the house smelled of lavender soap, and the Turner family had another ridiculous memory to add to their collection. As they dried off, Dad leaned back with a satisfied sigh. Kids, remember this moment, because someday, when you're solving mysteries of your own, you'll think back to today and say, we learned from the best. Ellie and Jake groaned.
Dad! 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 Dad!